Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to this latest episode of the Courageous Conversations podcast. My name is Jason Ellis, and I am, as always, super excited that you decided to spend a little bit of time with us today. And by us, I mean me. I'm flying solo here in the podcasting studio, aka my office. But I did want to put in front of you, especially for those of you who are parents of Briarcrest middle schoolers and high schoolers, put in front of you what we are doing next week for our Rush Week, R-U-S-H. So for those of you who might not know what Rush Week is, Rush stands for Are You Seeking Him? Yes, I know that's not actually how you spell R or U, but it is convenient and it works great. So we call it Rush Week, Are You Seeking Him? And so what we do, if you're familiar with what we do at Briarcrest, we're always doing chapel every single week. But this is different than just your typical chapels. We're actually going to carve out about an hour on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday to bring all of our students into Sparks Auditorium and to really get us together corporately so that we can all be challenged to ask ourselves, are we truly seeking after and following Jesus? So we do this every year. It's always a super special time. The students love it. But this year we're going to do things a little different, and I am personally very excited about it. So one of the things that we're doing on this podcast called Courageous Conversations is trying to equip us with the ability to have the conversations necessary for sharing Christ in the year 2025. And because of the time we live in and because of the worldviews that are circulating around us, there's a lot of courage that is necessary to do that. But that's not just something we're trying to do on the podcast. That's something that we're trying to do as a school for our students. And we're trying to equip our students to be prepared to launch out into the world and to make disciples of all the nations. So all the worldviews that they will encounter on a college campus. How do you share Christ with people who believe a certain way? How do you share Christ as someone who believes in Genesis 1 and 2 that God made them male and female? So God's design for humanity was male and female. How do you share Christ with someone who thinks that you are a bigot for believing that? That's just one example, but it's going to take a lot of courage. It's going to take gentleness, respect, truth, grace, and courage to have those conversations. But one of the things we're doing with our students, like I mentioned, is that we want to teach them how to have these courageous conversations. And so during Rush Week next week, we're going to bring our students into Sparks, and we're going to do a very interactive, at least the first half of our Rush session, have a very interactive time where I will actually be acting like someone who disbelieves the scriptures. And I'm going to, of course, be gentle and respectful with that, but my goal is to show our students what it sounds like, for instance, on day one, when someone says, hey, I don't believe what the Bible says about Jesus. And so what I'm going to do to signify that is I'm actually going to put a pair of sunglasses on, and I'm going to sit in front of our students, all 1,000 of them, 6th grade through 12th grade, and I'm going to make the claim that I don't believe what the Bible says about Jesus. And then I'm going to rattle off a couple of different things, share a couple of different things to try to prove my point. Now, obviously, me sitting here on this podcast, I don't believe that, right? I do believe what the Bible says about Jesus. I believe it is historical. I believe it is accurate. I believe it is inerrant, and I believe that it is infallible, right? But I'm going to make the claim that I don't believe that, and we're going to select students from each grade to solicit feedback from me and to share feedback with me as to how to counteract those claims in order to share Christ with me. And so the goal for that time is for it to be very interactive, to get our students to think, to allow our students to hear what a different perspective sounds like. Now, here's where, of course, parents come into this. We want to make you aware of what we're doing so that when your kid comes home and starts sharing, hey, this is what we talked about this week at Rush or today at Rush, you actually as a parent are equipped to have this discipleship conversation with them at home. And so what we're going to do after each day, so Miss Sandra Longworth and I are going to be hosting this. She is one of our Bible teachers here in the high school, and she is absolutely amazing. And so she and I have been planning this. We brought a couple other people in to plan this. So we're going to come right back here into the studio, AKA my office, and we are going to have a conversation, a much longer conversation, record it and put it out on the podcast. And what we're going to do in those conversations is we're going to talk about, hey, this was the objection that we raised today from an unbiblical perspective, that you can't trust what the Bible says about Jesus. And then we're going to spend as long as it takes to talk about why you can trust what the Bible says about Jesus. Now, if you're anything like me, anytime I listen to a podcast or watch a YouTube video that does this, I'm incredibly edified. I'm incredibly encouraged by my faith to know that, hey, what the Bible says is true. It's trustworthy. Jesus really did die for me. He really did resurrect for my victory. Such an amazing and encouraging thing to be reminded of. And so we're going to talk at length about that so that you as a parent are equipped to have that kid, or rather feel equipped to have that conversation when your student comes home. And we're hoping you'll talk about it at the dinner table. I'm hoping that my kid that's in middle school comes home talking about it, and we can have those conversations as a family. And so once again, the reason that we're recording this today is to make you aware that this is coming next week. And we want you to be on the lookout on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday for each one of those episodes where we unpack what we talked about in Rush from a biblical perspective so that we can continue as a community who loves Jesus to grow in our ability to have courageous conversations with those who need the grace, love, and mercy of Jesus. And so as always, super grateful that you decided to give us a little bit of time out of your day to listen to the Courageous Conversations podcast. And we look forward to talking to you again next week.